This is a live event recording that Scott Warren and I, Charlene Thompson, did on the 4th of November, and it's all about sales stability and cash flow. I hope you enjoy it. Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to see you all here. So thank you so much for coming on your Monday evening. So we will be going through all things sales stability and cash flow today. And if you do have any questions, we will have plenty of time for them, but you can put them in the chat along the way so that you don't have to just keep them in your head. So no worries about that. And we'll be getting to all of them. But first off, I'd like to just quickly go through some housekeeping. When we do come to question and answers, then if you could raise your hand, that would really help us out so we make sure we don't forget anyone. And also, if you could keep your microphones muted until then. Like I say, we're going to have plenty of time for it, so no worries. That'd be great. And yeah, feel free to chat in the comments amongst yourselves as well as ask questions there as well. So we will be getting started now. Thank you for coming to the Sales Stability and Cash Flow event. It's about how to stabilize your sales without losing joy in your work. And we need to know that because business is not something that's just one and done. In order to keep things working, you have to make sure you're doing it in a way that you can sustain, because we all keep hearing consistency and everything like that. But consistency is different for different people. And trying to figure out how to do sales and how to manage our business is the best way I know to make sure that the business will be here in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, for whatever you want it for. So we'll be going into all things like that and into cash flow because, again, if the business doesn't have money, then it's a hobby. So I'm really glad to have you here. My name is Charlene Thompson. I've been doing sales operations for 14 years and I help people to stabilize their sales so that they can grow their business efficiently. And by efficiently, I don't mean just using tech. I mean with people, processes, and technology to make sure the whole thing works holistically. And I'm very glad to have you here. And we do also have with us Scott Warren. Scott, can you introduce yourself, please?
Good evening, everyone. So, yeah, I'm Scott Warren. I am known in my circles as the pricing wizard. So, I help build those winning strategies around your pricing strategy, your pricing structure, in so that for you understand about improving your cash flow and not just the cash flow for business. A lot of people make mistakes. It's also building a cash flow to make sure you have a life that you deserve, putting money in that back pocket, and making sure that you have that business that meets your demands of your lifestyle and where you need to go forward. I'll be talking more in this webinar. And thank you for coming along.
Thank you, Scott. So the first thing we want to be talking about is consistent sales strategies. So what kind of inconsistent things have you seen, Scott?
I think the thing is, we always see it, that one person will go and do something really well, and they create a lot of sales, and then they kind of create their sales and then forget about it. And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, I've now not got any more sales. So they may be doing, may do LinkedIn really well. They get a lot of business, and then they get the business, and then they forget about it, completely forget about it. And guess what happens? They get no business, and then they have to keep repeating that. So, and it's like, okay, I'm now waiting for business for 3 months now before I haven't got that sales structure. So it's making sure that you enable your business to make sure that you can take on what you need to take on, but keep doing your sales and keep doing what you need to do with your sales funnel in every way you need to do right now.
Yeah, and so I've seen this a lot with the launch strategy, and I have nothing against launch strategy. It is obviously very useful. It's been going on for a long time now, and that's where you do big pushes towards a big event, and then you get the sales off the back of that. Launches are great. The problem with launches is if that is your only sales strategy, then it means that everybody's focus in your business, and for many businesses, it's just one person. Your whole focus has to only be in one area of your business for sometimes weeks at a time, right? Sorry, there we go. Yeah, for sometimes weeks at a time. And it's exhausting. If anybody's launched before, you'll know it's exhausting. And so if you are lucky enough and you get them sales in, exactly what Scott was saying, now you're super busy. Now you're delivering to all of this. But then when the business dries up because you finish delivering to it, you're going to have to do a whole launch plan again. And in my opinion, and in my experience, launches work best on top of a stable sales strategy. They're there to add extra flavoring, not be the whole meal, you know? So then how do you go about stabilizing your business? What is the first thing that you'd recommend for people, Scott?
Is first thing I would actually recommend is actually understanding your cash flow and understanding about what sales you need without going over the top, and understanding about how much money you need each month and what does that look like.
So in the understanding how much money you need each month, how do people work that out? Because I think different people work it out differently, especially depending on where their business is at in its life cycle.
Yeah, and it's the thing is what you've got to look at is actually understanding about all your costs in your business. So actually making sure you can have a simple spreadsheet. We've got some real good tools with some good accounting software. So making sure that you have written down all the costs you have for business, but then also making sure that what you have written down is all your household costs. We're here, we're all small business owners, we have bills to pay. We are got to make sure that we understand that actually we have that council tax, we have the rent, we have the mortgage, but also we have a lifestyle that we want to fund. We don't want extravagance. We don't want the maybe some of us do want the nice house, but actually what we want to do is live and doing what we need to do. So we need to be looking at, right, how do we write it down, all our costs, and understanding business and household, and write it all down. Yes, okay, you may be shared households, you may have a partner, so halve your household costs. So understanding, first of all, write down all your costs and include everything. A lot of people forget to include insurance, and all the little insurances that they have. Quite often, they've kind of gone, okay, I took my insurance out, been going 5 years, they forgot about the renewal costs and everything else. So making sure you get accurate of understanding about what costs are actually going in your business right now to know which you need your outputs for.
Definitely. And I completely agree with that. And again, it depends on where you are with your business. If you still have a full-time job or even a part-time job and your business is building up on the side, it's about making sure you're covering the cost that your business just has at the time. So like the insurance. So one of the things, because people can end up going in two different directions where they don't think about the true cost at all, or they try to get their business to cover absolutely every single part of their lifestyle immediately. And then that just leads to overwhelm. So it's a lot. One of the things that I would very much recommend is understanding deal types. It's something I've been speaking a lot about recently. And you might be saying, what is a deal type? Well, when you hear most people talking about sales, they're talking about new business. And new business is deals where you've never worked with that client before. They're brand new. Because even when you're hearing people talking about sales funnels, it's talking about people who you've never worked with before. They haven't known you, and you bring them in by attraction marketing or whatever it is, and then you work with them. But new business is the hardest sale to close because you have to go through the whole know, like, and trust journey. And that can take a long time, particularly if you have some deals where if your average sales cycle is months, you know. So new business is one of the deal types. The other two deal types, though, are upsells, also known as expanded business, and renewals. And again, depending on the kind of business that you got, some businesses might not have a renewal aspect to them, but I would strongly recommend you find one because upsells, as we know, expanded business, those are so easy to sell. It's like going into McDonald's drive-through and just ordering a burger and they say, do you want fries with that? Of course you do. So you're going to get the fries. Now, we want to make sure that the things that we're upselling people are things that are worth it, are things that are of quality. We don't want to just be throwing out rubbish there. But those upsells, those renewals are things that people don't really set up their sales strategy to include, which means you can end up going after new business for months and months and months, chugging away. And then eventually you'll hear a coach say, oh, but have you gone back to any of the people that you worked with before and asked them to give you a testimonial? Why do they ask that? Because when you get a testimonial and you put a testimonial out there, that makes it easier for other people to come and join you. But also, going back to your past clients, they might want to work with you again. They might say, hey, So I know you do leadership training. Do you also do speakers training, helping people to sound more confidently and things like that? Having those discussions, those are also sales. But we forget about that because, again, generally speaking in the market, people don't really talk about it. But you could be missing two-thirds, up to two-thirds of your sales by not talking to people you already know, by not setting up your services so that there are other add-ons that might be available that might be useful. And they won't necessarily be useful for everyone. And you don't have to give yourself a complete menu. But having those bite-sized things available, they're so helpful for our clients because once they've worked with us already, we've already brought them in. They're no longer new. You know, we've done that first bit of business. People who want to work with us want to work with us for a while. And it's kind of a shame if you've gone to somebody to buy something from them and they don't have anything else because you'd quite like to get more from them because you already trust them, you know? So I think that is also very important. Scott, do you have any more points on deal types or any more points on sales strategies, or should we move on to cash flow?
I think the thing is, obviously, retainers is really good because it helps manage a better flow in what you need to do. Retainers are a really good kind of thing. So it's looking at getting a contract and what you have. So looking at how can you keep a business in business, keep a person in with yourself in the longer term. It helps build your cash flow in what you can do, it builds it more stable. So a good policy to look at is looking at retainers. How can you retain that client? So is there a kind of program of activity that you can do? Because that can take a little bit of pressure off your sales and you can keep the upsell on what you're doing. What Charlene was talking about, at the end of the day, sales should be when you're trying to do business, it's one hard thing to do. But if you've already got business in there, you've got that cash flow, you're able to not make those new sales. You're building that referral partners in what you're doing because you've got people already embedded into the program, building those stars on what you've got.
Yes, definitely. So moving on to cash flow now. I'm just keeping an eye on the time because I do want to make sure we've got tons of time left for question and answers. Keeping an eye on cash flow. I'd like to start here. So there's a little thing called forecasting. I know you've got tons on cash flow, but there's a little thing called forecasting that I was even talking about it briefly today online. But forecasting is basically planning. And when you have an appropriate sales structure, so you know if you do webinars, for example, then you go down the social media route and then webinars, and then you might have a consultation call afterwards, and then it might be an upsell into a big course. Those would be your sales stages. And once you have that kind of structure, you can plan based on when you expect deals to close, based on your own knowledge of how long deals take to close. You can plan for your sales goals and you can plan based on your sales goals that if you win X amount, then you should see X amount come in X number of days. And those things, your sales goals and your revenue goals are not always the same. If you have the kind of services where people pay for everything up at the same time as they're booking, then great. Your sales goal will likely be your revenue goal, right? But if people can pay in installments, what trips people up a lot, I see it all the time in all kinds of businesses of various sizes, is that people don't modify their sales goals to take into account the fact that they're not receiving the money right now. So the sales look great. We've won this, we've won that. But then when you go to look at the bank account's missing the money. So we thought if we got a certain amount of number in December, we'd be able to pay for all of these other things in business. But that's not happening because we've allowed for installments. And installments aren't a bad thing, but you just need to forecast for them differently. You need to plan for them differently. And there are ways to forecast. You can do it in an Excel. You can do it in CRMs. I would always strongly recommend people get CRMs. But it's what freaks people out. But it's so necessary because if you don't know how much money you're going to have based on the work that you're doing, then you can't plan in advance. Everything is a surprise at the end of every single month. What are you thinking, Scott?
I think also as well, it helps you understand about your seasonal trends. When you're looking at your sales forecast and looking at what it is, it helps you deal with those seasonal fluctuations. We all know what's happening next month, and I can't believe it is November. Feels like I'm in August. So we know that like December. So you can look at your sales forecast and look at your sales trends, and actually understanding from that, you know where you have to build into your seasonal trends. We know that December is a little bit slow. So you may have to look at your November and go, right, I need to put a little bit more of an uplift into November so I can deal with a December slowdown. We know that August is a little bit slow down. So you might have a business that's a little bit quiet in August because, mum's off holiday, kid businesses to take disappear. So knowing those little seasonal trends to know where you put the increases in your sales forecast will help you deal with those periods where we need a bit of a break ourselves to understand about how we break, but also know to deal with those seasonal trends where it might be a little bit quiet and we can just deal and cope with that because we've already done it in the forecasting. We've forecast already those missing sales in that month and we're not have to chase with it. And we can just breathe, do what we need to deal with and get on with it and actually enjoy a little bit of summer, enjoy a little bit of Christmas, have a bit of fun, enjoy. That's what it's all about. And that's what we need to make sure that we're doing a business, forecasting it correct in what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and that's the thing because we hear from business owners all the time, like they don't feel like they can take a holiday. You can plan for it. And oh, I don't want to turn away the good business. I know, but what you can do is create waiting lists. And you can tell people that they're on the waiting list. Do you know what that lets people know? You're busy. You're busy. People are trying to get your business. If you create waiting list and you let people know that there are waiting lists, then when people get put on those waiting lists, they're going to be so much more appreciative of your services when you can work with them, right? It's never been my experience that I've said to someone, yeah, I don't have any availability in November, but I've got some openings in December. They've been disappointed, but they'll book in for December. Or they'll figure out if there's a smaller thing that they can get from me earlier on. And it's that mindset as well of feeling like as if you have to say yes to absolutely everything. Yes, saying yes is important and it's helpful, but it can be destructive if you take it too far. You are still a person. You do still need to rest. You do still need to sleep, particularly if you are a solopreneur. If you are your whole business and you are filling up every single hour in the day with clients, then when do you have time to invoice them? When do you have time to plan for anything in the future? When do you have time for administration? When do you have time to ask for those case studies? When do you have time to publish them? Your whole business stops because you've filled up your whole time only on delivery. But if you know, let's say, for example, I'm just spitballing a number here because let's say people have their day jobs as well. If you know you've got 10 hours a week to work with, right? If you know realistically, based on what those hours are, when you can deliver these services, let's say you can deliver realistically 7 hours worth of service in that time without it wearing you out and burning you out. And the other 3 hours are spent on administration, marketing, sales. Then you fill to those 7 hours. You don't fill to the 10 hours. Because the moment you start filling into the 10 hours, then you are literally taking the time away from future sales, from administration, from marketing. That's when you get a random bill that you forgot that you had, and now there's late fees because you just forgot about it because you were working so hard, you know? So what other things should we be thinking about with cash flow then, Scott?
One thing that does people a lot of think about, and you're actually right, Charlene, that's what I've done a lot of research on that. And I do my 70-30 ratio, by the way. That's actually what I've actually worked on. When I actually work down with a business, I do a 70-30% rate, I do a 70-30 ratio. And that 70% is clients, 30% is all the other stuff that we need to do. And I've seen that wholeheartedly work. So when I work with clients, when I sit down, the first thing I look at is their management flow, looking at what they do. I work on a 70-30 flow. And that's what a lot of people don't get. And lots of people kind of open their eyes up because that's the thing. And you say, like, yeah, okay, we work on that pricing structure and what we need to do and understand it with that situation. But I think also with the pricing and the cash flow is we are running our own race. We are doing what we need to do. The thing is, I see so many people who are trying to run other people's races. At the end of the day, with your cash flow, you've got to run your race. I see where people are in social media and they're both working at home. They're trying to price themselves accordingly to what they feel is the market and what that value is right now. So the thing is to make sure you do your cash flows is to make sure you run your own race. Don't feel like you have to have a nice car or a fancy car, fancy house. It's about fancying towards your lifestyle that you want. If that means you're going to have a little bit less in a car, a little bit less in a house, a little bit less food, but a bit more holiday, sure, that's a little bit better than a bit of a nicer car and everything else. I'm still a car guy, but I'll tell you what, I prefer, rather than a Ferrari, I prefer about 2 more holidays. So understanding your cash flow is understanding what your success means to your business. What are you driving for in business? And we are not driving for new clients. We are driving for what we want our life to be like right now. And really getting to deep down and understanding about your profit margins. And a lot of people forget that profit is not a dirty word. You have got to make sure profit is there to deal with the rainy days in what you're doing, to build that business, to put that foundation into what you have. We talk about that right now. At the end of the day, I like a little bit of nursery rhymes. If you get to know me, I do talk about nursery rhymes. And we all see that nursery rhyme with 3 little pigs. We are not trying to build a house in straw. We're not how to build sticks. We want to build a house of bricks where the big bad wolf does not blow it down. And if we haven't got that structure in what we have, that wolf's going to come down and blow it down. I actually know someone who run a company, a really successful company. He had one contract, one really big contract that went. That business is not here today. So understanding about where you are, what structure you're going to do, how many clients you're going to be doing, and making sure that your profit is there, not to pay your bills, not to afford your lifestyle, but actually about affording what you need for your business right now in your systems and where you are. Charlene, you got anything on profit?
Yes, I do. Because of the whole pricing for profit thing. I know it's one thing, I'm pretty sure we were talking about it at some point this week as well, Scott, where the amount of businesses that, spout about their 6, 7 figure turnovers, and that's great. That's how many sales they had, but what's your profit margin? How much money did you have to spend to make that money? Because if you've had 1 million revenue come in and you only have 150 grand spare at the end of it, then what was all that hard work for? And this is what I mean about changing our mindsets as to what business is. Because, doing all of that work, yeah, the numbers are big, but you were supposed to build, you wanted to build, many of the people that I've spoken to anyway, you wanted to build a business to support you. If you build a kind of business where your profit margin is this thin, then you're literally just building a job for yourself. You're building a hamster wheel for yourself. And I see that a lot when it comes into the debate as to whether you should go high ticket or low ticket. There's no right or wrong answer to that. The reason why people like to go for high ticket is because selling isn't easy for a lot of people. And if you can create something that you can sell for a large amount of money, then that will cover your bills quicker, right? But as Scott said, it can leave you in a position where you get too comfortable, you get too complacent with those handful of clients. And then if something major happens, like, oh, I don't know, a global pandemic, then you are stuck in the water. You don't have anything. So again, putting all of your eggs in one basket and then hoping that the basket never tips over is not a good plan. I can see how people are tempted to do that, but having a balance of the different offers that you have means that you can service people where they are. And it doesn't mean, again, that you have to have a whole menu of offerings. But I'm, again, speaking to expanding our mindset as to what the business is supposed to be for. It doesn't have to look like somebody else's business in order to be successful. It needs to be able to pay for itself and then give you the extras afterwards. And ideally, not give you the same headaches that you got when you were working full-time for someone else. So how do you go about pricing for profit then, Scott?
So when I look at pricing for profit, I look at 3 estimates. We've talked about the costs, understand about that. What is that profit margin you want to do? But also what we forget about is the most invaluable thing that we've not even talked about, which is time. Now, I've actually done a little bit of research. This is unofficial, but I've done my own research. Most of us are all small business experts in this room. Yeah, we value our time less than £5 an hour. In employment terms, less than £5 an hour. If we are a small business expert, how can we be lowering ourselves less than I'll tell you what, I will hands over to all the people that work in supermarkets, coffee shops. Brilliant, do a fantastic job. But we are experts and we're valuing ourselves less than the person that works in a supermarket, a person that makes those lovely coffees for us, those baristas. They are employees. We're not employees. We are experts. And so we've got to value ourselves in our time, in our value, in our experience, and our knowledge. And the thing is, what we do, and there's always a good saying that actually the mechanic that came across that just hit the hammer on my engine to make my engine work, you didn't pay for the hammer. You pay for his knowledge to fix it because he knew where to hit the hammer on your engine to fix it, to sort that problem out in a quicker, meanly time in what it has right now. So when clients are paying for you, they are not paying for what you deliver. It's not paying for what you do, they're paying for what you deliver in your services right now. So that's why you've got to make sure you're charging for your time and charging for those equations. So, but you've got to think about you've done all these great qualifications, you've got all the experience, but are you really know and understand about how to charge for your time in what you're delivering right now? So therefore, you're getting the maximum value in what you're doing with your profit right now, and making sure that everything that goes into business is going into there. So the profit you have is the profit you have at the end of it. Because a lot of businesses, when I talk to them, and Charlene's just talked about that, they don't even know what gross profit is. They don't even know what net is. And I'm developing the one called pure profit. So with gross profit, it's all about the sales you've made. And that's all it is. It's just the sales you've made. It's the money you've made at the end of the month with all your sales. The net is taking away your outcomes. So you've got your business, you've made all your sales, you then take away all the costs you have for business. But then I have another one called pure. And pure is about taking away all your household costs. So what you have left to put in your back pocket at the end of the month. And it's rather than saying to yourself, right, okay, I've just made all these sales, made all this, I've now got £1,000 to pay for the household. That's generally not going to work. The average household nowadays is about £2,500. Okay, you might share it off as 1,250. That's going to leave you in trouble. So understanding as well, about your profits, understanding the different levels of profits is what you need to do. So understand your time, your costs, and understand about your profit margins and where you're going, whether you're going to go for high level or lower level sales, going to help you understand about what adjustment you have on your profit margins to understand about what you grow. And a nice little tip I hear, we're all sitting right now on laptops. We have all phones. Are we actually putting some money aside to make sure that we can pay for this equipment if it breaks? Dealing with the what ifs. And I always say to my client, put £1 for each sale you make into a bank account for that eventuality. Deal with that what if. Because what if you had that important phone call with that really important client that can refer to you and your laptop breaks down? What is easier to do, to go to a local electronics store and get a laptop, or go around, search around, find that money, and then go around, search a local electronics store, find that laptop you want, and still get onto that call? I know what I would want to do. So make sure if you make a sale, put £1 towards your future costs, because we'll never know when that laptop might not stop working. Have you got anything more
So
to add?
yeah, I do. And this is your clarion call to, if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat because we will start just free talking and then we'll be answering questions. That's why we've left so much time for questions so that we could actually answer your direct business questions. So one of the things that I was having to say, that I was thinking about when it comes to pricing is the pricing per hour thing. So we hear a lot, because it does make sense and it's true, that if we think of ourselves on an hourly rate, then we're going to end up underpricing ourselves, and we need to price according to the value that we're giving to our clients. And that makes complete sense. To expand more on what you were talking about with thinking about the price per hour is the cost of us per hour. When we're looking at our pricing, if we're not doing that by hour, which is good. Okay, we're doing it based on the value. So hopefully it gives us a larger number. Then we need to remember, how long does it take us to actually deliver on this service? Because often it's not just the phone call that you're in with the client, it's all of the behind the scenes time that you're going to be thinking about that stuff. They're paying for your admin time. They are paying for you to go out and do other sales because they're paying for the business. So you need to keep all of that in mind, because that's when you start thinking about your cost of sale. And we might be getting a little bit too complicated here, but it's, profit and loss, right? And things like that. So you need to figure out how much does it cost to run your business? That includes your time. So you might not charge them by hour, but you need to know how much your hourly rate is so that people are paying for it appropriately. Because again, if you don't price it appropriately, that's when you get into situations like Scott was saying, where you end up paying yourself £5 an hour. And that's rough. And that's not to say that you can't ever do deals and you can't ever start somewhere. But a lot of people never progress from that. A lot of people end up just doing the same thing all the time and are forever broke, even though they sell really good things, but the pricing is just off. And again, as Scott was saying, to agree with that again, pricing isn't a profit isn't a dirty word. It's not. It's the benefit that you get from being able to deliver your service with the expertise that you have so that other people get good results. I like to think of it from a project management perspective, right? So you don't hear it as much these days, but a lot of the reason why people used to frown at project managers is because they'd be a little bit, I don't even know, I'd say a bit square, a bit to the letter. So if somebody said, I want you to build me a bridge, they'd build a bridge. But if the benefits of building the bridge was you'd be able to get from this building to that building, they wouldn't necessarily receive that benefit because they just build a bridge in the middle of the ocean, if that makes sense. And thinking about business based on the deliverables instead of based on the outcomes instead of the deliverables is what will help you to share and understand your quality and experience so that your clients will be able to benefit from it appropriately. Just delivering to here's a bridge and expecting to be paid for it doesn't work. And planning your business like that doesn't work. It's the same thing on the inside as well as the outside. Delivering to the outcomes as well as building your business based off of the outcomes. Do you want to build this business and then have less money than you did when you were working? Probably not. Do you want to build this business and have less time than you did when you were working for somebody else? Probably not. There are ways to balance this out. And no, you do not have to wait until you're a multimillionaire for you to be able to have some time to just sit down and watch the TV. So let me see. How are we doing for questions? Please don't worry. You can just bring them in. We're very, very calm. And we do want to help you with what you've got going on. Let's see. Hazel saying lots of wonderful nuggets of wisdom in this conversation. Question: if you are just starting out, how do you charge? What product service worth? I know it depends on the product or service. If you can share what the product or service is, I'd appreciate that. But we can take a stab at your question in the meantime. Scott, where would you start with trying to figure out how to price your services or product?
I think the first thing, obviously depends on product service a little bit different because product obviously depends on the cost of materials. So you're looking obviously at cost of materials, you are factoring that kind of thing. So you've got to know a little bit and know where you're looking at marketing it. So if you're doing a product, and I was talking to someone, again, we know at Christmas, so I was talking to someone about Christmas baubles, and they were saying, well, I'm not making sales. And I said, well, the thing is, there's nothing really wrong with your pricing. It's just where you're putting your products right now. So it's not actually what you need to do is, again, I think what we talked about is knowing what your worth is. It's knowing what you want to drive out your business. The thing is with the pricing, what you need to know is your service is how, first of all, how you're structuring it. Are you going to be looking at it? So you're going to do a retainer, you're doing a coaching thing where you're doing a 6-month program. They're going to be on there for 6 months. You're doing one call each once. How are you going to make sure you get your value for your time, making sure your cost in there, but also understand about your profit margins in what you're doing, and factoring all of that into it and understanding about it. But then how many clients you can take on? Because when you're doing a one-to-one service, you're doing 10, just keeping on the messages that. Yeah, it depends on the position and everything else and where you are in the marketplace. Because you've got factors in as well. I know Hazel, because Hazel, we had a good conversation this morning. You know, if you're looking at something like, if you're positioning yourself to the corporate market, you've got to look like yourself within the corporate market. Your price has got to reflect your service and way you need to do it. If you're saying you're pricing yourself to say middle management, lower level management, then your price needs to reflect that. And it's maybe also what I call a terminology, you could butterfly it. So you might find that what I do is go, right, what is it that you need to do, which is you're down the middle cost, you do your middle management, but then we might add a little bit extra to do the higher end management, the CEOs, the director levels. But then we look at adding that little bit on we did with that and getting it towards low level management. I have done that with quite a few management consultants in what we're doing. But it's also, I think, what we and Charlene have also talked about is knowing what time you need to put into it is a real big factor, because it's understanding if you're working 40 hours on that 70 kind of ratio, which means you're about 30 hours in what you're doing, how much you're going to be working for that and how much you need to be charging and what do you need to achieve out of it. And I look at what you need to achieve for your survive line and what is your thrive line. Your survive line is, right, okay, all my bills are paid, food's on the table for what I do is a normal week. But then what is it? What do I need to aim for above that? So it could be that take an average family nowadays about £2,500. I know it's roughly a bit more than that. So that's kind of where you could be your thrive line, could be around about that, because you have business costs and everything else involved. But your thrive line might be that you need to aim 4,000. You then have to work out, right, how many clients I'm going to do, factor in all my costs in, my time and my profit margins to understand about how I'm pricing it and see if that's going to achieve the thrive line that I want to be achieving in my business in a reasonable manner with the amount of clients I need to do. When you're doing a product level, it all depends on what products you're doing. It could be that you're doing one where you're thinking, I need about 10, 20, 30, 40. I've seen it where I've done it on product-based business where I've done about 20. All we need to do is sell 20 a month. I've also done it where I had to do. So, yeah, just wasn't reasonable message, that's all. But also, I've seen it where I've worked with businesses where they need to be doing 100 products every single month. So it's knowing what you need to know about where you need to charge in a situation.
Definitely. And what I'd like to add to that, and please keep your questions coming in. We do have a good deal of time left, thank goodness. Strategic fit. I could go on about this all day long, but basically, you want to be pricing it. You need to be pricing your things in a way that you can sell it to the people who you want to sell it to, the people who it can help the most. Because as far as I'm concerned, strategic fit means selling to people who would love to give you a testimonial, who would love to give you a case study, because those are the people who are going to give you the least amount of trouble all the way throughout the process from beginning till end. You want to sell to the people who you hope will become your champions because they will help you to sell more. How do you know who those people are? Who will your service most benefit? When and why? Most benefit. I'll give you an example of the opposite of this, where you see a lot of programs out there for business, because we've all seen them, and they're for business owners, and people ask the question of, okay, so what size of business is this good for? Is this, I'm just starting out, will this work for me? Or I've been in the game for 10 years, will this work for me? And the coach says, oh, it'll work for every size of business. Yeah, it will. It will work for every size of business, but it will work for some businesses better than others. because for some businesses, you are going to have to do a lot more heavy lifting to get yourself to a place where it will work the best for you. Whereas others are going to be much more better positioned to be able to take the learning and be able to apply it immediately. And I've fallen for that, for want of a better word, as well, where I got into a training program and it really wasn't for businesses of my size. And I shelled out quite a bit of money for it because I really, really believed in the coach. And everything that they were saying was good and it made sense. But it was for me in, I don't know, 3 years' time, not for me today. And I'm not going to get that money back. Yes, it had a lot of useful information in it, but I wasn't in a position to be able to do things with that information right now. And so therefore, have I left a good review? No, I haven't left a bad review, but I'm not going to be advising people to go and learn from them either. So they might have gotten my money because, yeah, quick, nice, new business through the door, but I don't have amazing things to say about them. And I am definitely a person who would share lots of good things with people if it was great. But knowing truly who you want to sell to and who your service fits the best and talking to them and selling for them and pricing for them, because again, £500 is the same as £50 to the right people. You do have to go and look at the market and see what's going on. But understanding where your value lies and why it works specifically for them is what will really do the trick. And another thing to help with this here is it's another project management terminology, is thinking about things. There's two different diagrams that I'm thinking of, but one of them that I'm thinking about right now is time, cost, quality, right? And when it comes to project management, something is going to suffer. Which one is going to suffer the most when you're making changes? That's the learning in project management, but you can apply that to everything in your business as well. If you're creating a new service, then what is special? What is different about that service in comparison to your other services? Does it bring people more time, give them more time? Is it cheaper than it was before? Is it better quality? Will it take more time from you? Will it take less time from you? Is it less quality that you're delivering? Are you pricing it less? Or does it cost you more to deliver? Time cost quality in everything is something that I think about literally daily to try to help me to make those decisions on things that you know what it's like. We're just going, but I don't know if I should do this, I don't know if I should do that. You write down that triangle and you think about it like that. Which one am I willing to sacrifice? And I'm a quality person, so I'm not willing to sacrifice quality on much. So quality is going to be firm. So which one, if I have to take from someplace, am I going to take more from time? Am I going to take more from cost? Or am I going to balance it out? And that helps you to narrow down your choices so that you can make these decisions on the fly. We've got a new question here. Thinking about the advice about pricing, what are your thoughts about factoring in the price for the service product within the industry or market? What if the industry standard is lower than what you would like? Could you outprice yourself? Why do you think it's lower? Like,
I think that's a very interesting. I know a lot of people say this to me. The thing is, what you got to, I can see the question here as well, Charlie. The thing is,
yeah,
what you
yeah.
can see is a lot of people are cutting to the bone. They are chasing and they're chasing towards the bottom of the margins. At the end of the day, because a lot of people don't understand about the pricing structure, what you have to do, and I think Charlene will do that, will kind of do that as well, is actually think about the value that you deliver. At the end of the day, if I told you right now, I'll tell you what, I've got a £500 course, but I've just delivered a client that's got about 15,000 pounds worth of sales. Would you want to join in it? Okay, it's a little bit higher than what the market's point of it is, but you know there's an opportunity to make some big sales and what you need to do. So the thing is, what you've got to think about is a lot of people what to call is do race to the bottom. And it happens a lot in a lot of industries right now. But what you've got to think about is what am I delivering that is affecting my pain points? Think about putting yourself in your client's shoes right now, and what is it that you're solving, and what do you deliver? Don't, not what you do, but what you deliver is the key kind of things. So if you're delivering a service that's £250 and it's helped create an extra sales for your clients of 500 quid, put out a message. Oh, by the way, I've just got this service. I'm doing £250 a month. That's probably too cheap anyway, but I'm just trying to make figures on the top of my head. But I've just helped a client make an extra £500 worth of sales this month. So they've actually doubled what their price is, what they're saying is. So don't think about the price as in the price of what you deliver, of what you're doing, but what you're delivering the point of us. Because a lot of people don't understand pricing and they're cutting themselves and they're cutting their margins to get the class sales. Stick to your guns.
I agree. And like I say, the first question that came to my mind is why are they lower? Are they lower because like who are they sending? Are they sending people who truly know how to organize things? Are they sending people who, because I know what you do for a living, so, but I don't want to go into it too much. Are they sending people who truly know how to organize things? Are they sending people that have had true experience with it? What was coming to my mind is from time cost quality, it's the quality is what you can be really leaning in on. It's those personal touches that only you can bring because you're not corporate. There's no corporate, this is the way we do it. It's the personal you that's connecting with people on their lucky day. Again, I know what Jackie does for a living. So um it's how you're connecting with them and the things that other people wouldn't necessarily be thinking about. You're still bringing the human to it. Whereas when you do have large organizations, sometimes the training that's given to them to help manage an event can be very stilted, very, very minimal. And that project manager is running around just as upset as everybody else is. What you're bringing is calm. What you're bringing means that they won't even remember that you were there because things ran so well, you know. And then they're having extra compliments as well about just how well run things were because people like to talk when things don't go so well. But when things go really, really well, oh wow, all those nice little touches, all those things that you weren't expecting. Really narrowing in on the quality. And you might feel like you're laying it on a bit too thick. You're not. You're not because we've all been disappointed when we've gone for the cheaper option and we thought what our minimum standard for quality was, and it just doesn't meet theirs, you know? So yes, definitely. We do still have, you're very welcome. We do still have a little more time for questions, but there was another note here. B2B lead time is so much longer than B2C. Oh my word, yes it is. So I'm aware that daily to put in time in my diary to build B2B relationships, whereas B2C, much quicker turnaround time to create business. One of the things, I wasn't even going to talk about this today, but it's coming up, so I'm going to. One of the ways that I find it easier to think about this is with those B2B relationships, because it can seem like as if you're just having conversation after conversation after conversation. If you're talking about general relationships rather than simply running the sale, the general relationships, you think about those as marketing. So you want to talk with them to find, what is it that's special about their job, what they're doing, what do they need? If you kind of make yourself, if you're having several networking conversations, if you kind of try to be the person that connects people to other people, I don't mean changing your personality, but if you really get to know them enough and you find out what they need and you end up having enough conversations, then you'll realize, oh, it's like playing Snap. This person here is looking for this person over here. And then you bring them together and you might be thinking, so how does that help you? Because they're going to remember the person that brought them together. And then when somebody else is looking for your services, they'll remember you first. I have had so many conversations recently where randomly people have just popped up and gone, oh, yeah, no, I just told somebody about you the other day. Why? Because I told somebody about them. That's how that happens. When it comes to running a sale for B2B, that does take longer. And it's worth knowing for I talked about sales stages earlier on, and that was mostly for like B2C stuff. For B2B, you can think about sales stages as qualify, develop, propose if you do a propose, negotiation, win pending. You might not even put win pending in there. It might just be negotiation and then close one. Qualify, I would say, is the very first time you have a proper meeting with this person. It can be in person, it can be a call, but it's definitely not an email. Develop is when you're having those continual conversations to try to figure out um, whether you truly can work together. Qualify is more, do you want to work with them? Develop is, do they want to work with you? Do you have a strategic fit? Do you have a service that works for them? And that can take a few conversations, but that's what that's supposed to be about. If you go into B2B conversations thinking that you're going to close the deal on the qualify conversation or in the 2 to 3 or 4 develop conversations, it's going to be rough. And even if you're not in a position of having to do a proposal, that's just not how B2B sales are done in my experience. You have the conversations to understand and learn the client even more. They know fully well that they can buy from you. And if they want the proposal, you create a proposal, you send it off. And if you don't do a proposal, then you direct them to what the next steps are. But it's like a dance. You do take the lead, but you're not going to be forceful. You're finding out more about their speed of dance. Truly, what are their expected outcomes from taking on this service from anyone? Again, don't presume it's going to be you. One of the things that works really powerfully, and I've trained salespeople in doing before, is letting them know and sharing with them the kind of questions that they should be asking their prospects when it comes to the service about what they're expecting to receive. Why? Because you can tailor those questions to ones that you can answer very well. But it again shows the prospective clients that you know what you're talking about and you're giving them advice. You're giving them more. It's just like a lead magnet. You're giving them more, and you don't have to. You don't have to help them try to figure out how to navigate through all of these people, but you will because it will benefit you. And it does take some more time, but that's often where the bigger deals are. So now that we have 8 minutes left, if you do have any more questions, please do let us know. And in the meantime, oh, hello, Kirsty. B2B is about knowing who to get in front of. The end user and the budget holder are not always the same, and the red tape can be frustrating. You're telling me. But hang in there, build the relationships, ask all the questions, answer all the questions. If they are talking with you, there is an interest. Corporates don't waste time holding multiple conversations for no reason. If you're in a conversation, then be prepared to play the long game. I don't have any notes. Exactly that. And I know Kirsty. Kirsty knows what she's talking about. So you see what I did there? You tell people about other people. Kirsty does know what she's talking about, right? So thank you very much. Scott, where would people come to you for continued support? What do you have on right now?
So on the 18th of November, which is in 2 weeks' time, on Monday at 2 p.m., I have a pricing workshop that is £100. So if you would like to attend the pricing workshop, put in the chat yes-s and I will send you out an invite for the pricing workshop on the 18th of November at 2 p.m.
Thank you very, very much. Did you say if that was online?
That is online. Yes, it is online. So it will be on a Zoom call. It will be online.
Cool. Thank you very much. And so if people are interested in that, please just put a yes-s in the chat, and then I will connect you and Scott afterwards. And for me, I've got a beta launch here. So I'm launching a group for some founding members. I'm looking for people to be a part of this. And it is for smaller business owners, micro business owners, where we have chats similar to this, but in much more detail every 2 weeks in the evening on a UK time, where I will deliver training specifically on the sales operations aspects that affect you, including forecasting. Created the wickedly geeky Excel the other day that I'm very interested in showing lots of people in about how to forecast appropriately, how to balance out your time as well, using those project management practices, understanding pipelines, navigating your way through a CRM, or if you don't have one, how to build one inside Excel to whatever degree that you can, making sure your business is set up and is operationally fit for you without making you bleed through the eyes. So if that is something that you are interested in, the very first meeting would be next week, Monday, then please send me a yes-c in the comments, or you can shoot either of us an email afterwards to say yes-s for Scott's pricing workshop, or yes-c to know some more about the founding members group called the Business Boost Crew. So with that said, we've got a few minutes left up. Is there anything, Scott, that we haven't covered today that you wanted to cover?
I think we've covered a lot. We've put a lot of information in for them. I think there are been some burning pens in this kind of situation. I think we just have to say thank you for everybody for attending on this Monday evening.
Yes, definitely. Oh, Kirsty's geeking out on an Excel with me. Don't track the payment plans coming in. Oh, we've got to have a talk. Yeah. Oh, tracking the payment plans, and it can seem tedious if some payment plans are small, but they add up. Hopefully, if we're doing business well, those things add up, and having that real-time data, something that you can look at the end of the month, even if it's not updating every second, it's so helpful because you can plan out your money. So what I'm going to do, I did wanted to touch on very, very quickly. Do you think you could give us 1 minute, Scott, on the planning for day-to-days versus planning for a week? We were talking about how to schedule your time a little while ago.
Yeah, I can give that quickly. So, the thing is, a lot of people don't realize I'm balancing about what it is right now. We all have tasks that we need to do each week, and we have all the tasks that we need to do once a month. So we need to put into ourselves a diary. You can do it online, you can do a blank diary, and just write down. You can do a simple block of saying, right, when you're actually going to do your tasks, and you can label a different color to really understand, right, this is my marketing activity, these are my clients. So you understand all the colors will represent a kind of thing, and you get to understand. And a good little tip is put a little bit of me time in there. I dare you to put on a Friday afternoon, put a little bit of say, right, I'm actually not going to work a Friday afternoon. That is going to be what I'm driving towards. So making sure that your diary is color coded to understand about when you're doing things, what activities you're doing. If you're doing networking, when you're doing networking, how much networking, that will get to see what you're doing with your clients, what marketing activity you're doing, what business activities, because you can, in my diary, I do have normally at 4:30 to 5:30 is situated admin, which is all the business tasks, some of the emails, messages, just a nice little cleanup at the end of the day. I'd have that in my diary. It's very weird when people look at it, but I have that situated in my diary. 4:30 to 5:30, I have admin. If I can get it done a little bit earlier, brilliant, fantastic. But normally 4:30, I'm sitting down with admin and doing all my admin tasks. I don't mind it. So make sure you color code it because it helps you understand about where you're tracking, what you're doing with your activities, your clients, and what you're doing with your business as well. And that helps you make sure you get your ratios in hand.
Yeah, thank you. My diary is very much like that as well. And I do believe I did a recording on TikTok at some point, which shows how to get Outlook to color code things automatically based on your category. So I will send that out to everybody in the email after this. I'm a very, very big fan of planning, as you can imagine. So thank you so much for that, Scott. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Really appreciate it. So glad that you were here, and I hope you came away with lots of notes that you can implement. This was recorded, so we'll be sending out the summary to you as well once we have it, and you'll be able to watch the recording again as well. So thank you so much, and I hope you have fantastic weeks and record-breaking years for the end of this year. So, we'll be seeing you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye.